My wife Sarah and I moved to Nelsonville in 1987, November of 1987 actually. When we did, we wanted to live out in the country. This was an idyllic place, we thought. Um, Most of my life, all my life, I've been a professional athlete and coach. That was what brought me here. So I've exercised all my life. My health has been very, very good until 1998 when I was diagnosed as having lymphoma cancer. We realized after a period of time when they started testing the water here that there were a lot of nitrates in the water and possibly other toxins, not knowing that for a period of decades, because we've lived here now for 30 some years, and it's just recently that that's been brought to light. We drank the water, we cooked with the water. The question is there a correlation between my health, because I've had 22 years of radiation and chemotherapy, is there a correlation with the deterioration of my health and the water supply here, the consumption of the water, which is polluted? From what I understand, we have 2.5 to 3 times as many nitrates in our water when the well is tested as is considered consumable by people. So, and just recently, they've done some studies in the Central Sands region, and they found that it's farming practices pretty much that have they're the reason for the deterioration of the water supply. I shouldn't say water supply, but water quality. We do know, and when we first moved here, there were no high-capacity wells or any large irrigation systems. We've got one right adjacent almost to our house. And when actually the irrigation is flowing, the water is actually going right onto our property. It sprays right onto our property, which is approximately 100, 150 feet from the house. Because the fields are up above, and anytime they put toxins and herbicides or pesticides on the fields, which we've seen because they have huge tanks, hundreds of gallons of those herbicides and pesticides. When they spray that on the fields, that goes into the groundwater, and the groundwater, since we're downhill from them, most of that is going to go into the water supply that we have in our well. So again, the question is whether or not my deterioration in health has any correlation to the water that I consumed over the last 20 to 30 years. I don't know if that's true or not, but it is worrisome, and there's no question that every time I see the water being sprayed all over the place by the irrigation systems, and when I see the herbicides and pesticides being applied to the fields, it creates a lot of stress for me, because I'm thinking that I know other people have had health problems in this area, and it doesn't seem to be getting better, nor does it seem to do anything other than fall on deaf ears up to this point. Is anything going to be done about that? I hope that that is the case, because you'd like to think that the people in Nelsonville, as in other places, have a right to clean water. And as of right now, the water that we have it's not clean. That I do know. There's a fair amount of poisons in there, at least in the form of nitrates. I know that that's true, because our water's been tested a fair number of times, and it always has been anywhere between 24 and 27, I believe, on the scale, which should be 10 or less. So it's a bit of a problem. So I don't know what we're going to do about it, but if there's anything that I can do to help the situation so that it doesn't continue to deteriorate and hopefully it gets better, I'd be willing to do that. So,
Can you talk a little bit more about your health and what you're going through now?
Well, again, I've for since 1998. I was first again diagnosed with cancer in 1998. And during that period of time, again, I've gone through radiation, I've gone through chemotherapy a lot of times. In May of last year, I had a stem cell replacement. During that period of time, what they did do is they gave me intensive chemotherapy, and by doing that, they wiped out my immune system. So I have almost no immunity right now. That's recovering a little bit. But what has happened because of that too, as a result of all the chemotherapy that I've received, my kidneys have gone bad. So now I have renal failure, and I'm on stage 4. So I'm going to have to start dialysis, kidney dialysis. That will start, it actually has started, but I'll be doing that regularly beginning the 1st of June. So, one problem's led to another, and it's the quality of life, let's just say, has not gotten better, nor has it pretty much stayed the same. And yet at the same time, I recognize that every day is a blessing. I should say too that I come from a family of farmers, so I know what it's like to earn a living through farming, through agriculture. My uncle, as an example, is the largest landholder, was the largest landholder and farmer in Forest County. So I used to work for him in the summertime. I'd work at his farm. So I know what it's like to work on a farm, and they work very, very hard. My father, too, grew up on a farm, so I have some farming in my blood. The situation, though, is that when I see that farmers who are supposed to be good neighbors don't seem to be as concerned about the community that they live in as much as making a profit. If that's the perception that I get, that to me would seem wrong. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.